I'd like to talk to you about accountability in YWAM today. I think everybody's aware that we've made a change from the normal organizational structure, which would go through a senior leader in a location, in a nation, in a region. You get that. We were structured like any other denomination or organization or business for that matter. And God began to speak to us in about 2002. Maybe it was earlier than that, but 2002, Lauren began to articulate a couple of things that signified change, especially the tripod message. And if you don't know what that is, then please go look at YWAM.org, search using the word apostolic, and you'll see it comes up. How do we maintain an apostolic anointing in YWAM? But what that message that he delivered in China and Nanning in 2002 marked, as we look back, was the beginning of a change to where we were no longer going with individual executive leaders, but rather teams of elders. And since that time, a myth has arisen in YWAM that we really have to put an end to. And that is, there's now no accountability in YWAM above local level. That is just not true. There is more accountability. There's supposed to be more accountability. And if you're a leader in an area circle team or any of those kinds of leadership groups that's more than local, and you think that you don't have authority to lead, that team has authority to lead. You're supposed to. That team has authority to bring discipline when necessary. I was one of those executive leaders, okay? So I know how well it worked back when. And I know that what happened was that people like to kick the problems upstairs. Do you know what I mean? Where if they've got a problem that is very difficult, then they say, oh, well, my leader can deal with that. And I found that being a leader in YWAM at the time, say I was Europe, Middle East, and Africa leader then, it was just one problem after another. And I felt like I was being parachuted behind enemy lines, and I'd come into an airport, meet with people, and then they expected me to say something that would resolve the problems, and I'd have to make some kind of decision about who stays or who goes or something like that. And I didn't know the situation like they did, and I could pray and ask God what to do, but the structure was all wrong. And we ended up not being able to do our jobs. None of us were able to really cover all the issues that arose. It just doesn't work that way. But we didn't go to circles of eldership because of the inadequacies of the previous structure. We went this way because God began to speak to us. And that emphasis on eldership continued through 2002 on through to 2009 when our friend Dr. Atef at the time did a series on eldership here in Highfield Oval. And when I heard it, I said, this is what the whole mission needs to hear. And he said, I know. And so I said, so will you do it? And he said, no. And I don't know why. I have my guesses. But he said, no, you deliver it. So I went through it again and took notes and prayed into it and did some more Bible studies and delivered it as well. And then another 5 years passed. Well, we kept talking about it in our global leadership team meetings and global leadership forum, and we were heading that direction. But my goodness, it was slow. And then in 2014, David Damien spoke to us with a couple of really prophetic messages. And we realized, Lauren especially realized, now's the time for change. And he spoke to several of us, and we started making the change. What that means is that we have eldership at all levels. We should have it locally. We should have it in nations. We should have it in regions of nations. And we should have it over omega zones, areas like we our world, we don't talk about it very much anymore, but our world, the way we see it, is divided according to population. And we have eldership over groupings of areas. And those elders mean that it's not one person who is responsible for all that. There are several people, but they have the same authority as executive leaders used to have. That is, they have the authority that lies within them in terms of the spiritual authority that they have in themselves and with one another. And as they function together, they provide accountability within Youth with a Mission. That means that when a YWAM leader or a YWAM base does something quite wrong, and it's very clear that things are going the wrong direction, then an area circle team does indeed have the responsibility to work that through and resolve that problem to the best of their abilities. Now, how you resolve those problems, that's another subject, but I can tell you this, you need to put a lot of prayer into it, and you need to move when God says, because if you don't move in God's timing, things can go badly wrong. However, let me give you an example. As it happens, and I think God kind of set this up to provide an example. As it happens, not long after we made those changes, within 2 years at least, I happened to be speaking at a European leadership conference of some sort, and word came through that one of our bases in Europe had had a very difficult time, and things had gone wrong in such a way that there was a group of students and younger staff who felt that they had been misled or aggrieved, and they were now on social media really trying to stir up anti-Youth with a Mission publicity. Well, when I saw what happened, I talked to a couple of people, I looked at the website of what was beginning to emerge. It wasn't one of those terribly abusive situations, but it was wrong, and people had not had a good school that they paid for. So several of us got together, and we said, now, who has a close relationship with the leadership team there? Somebody said, well, I was just there recently, and I go there a couple times a year, and yeah, I do. So I said, well, why don't you take one or two others, and you go see the leaders there and get the story from their perspective. Now, at the same time, who really has abilities to communicate to the online audience? What do we do about that? And a couple guys said, yeah, I'm happy to work on that. And what we did was, we happened to have a group of leaders, quite a number of people who were part of the area circle team, together in one place, so that really helped. We didn't have to call them together. And we started working on it, and each did our little bit, and the situation that could have been disastrous just turned out to be not so great. But we were able to defuse it to some significant degree. Part of the myth around us not having accountability is that all we really have a mandate to do is to convene. And I know that that's come because Lauren in particular said, and I've repeated it many times, we lead by convening. Well, that's how we are proactive. We call people together, we get the word of the Lord to them, we get visionary direction and so on, the key directions for the ministry. We do that by convening. But that doesn't mean that's the only thing we do to lead. We function as a team, we function as body. Remember, the image that God gave to the church generally was that we function as body, not as a hierarchy. And that's all we're trying to do. That should give us more accountability, not less. I hope that picture is clear for you. Our boards are independent legally, but our leaders are related relationally. And we operate as elders within the context of mutual accountability and being responsible shepherds. I welcome questions. It's a good subject to talk about. Thanks for listening.